Good. Welcome back once
Man,
again. I know it's just time flies when you're
time
having
flies.
fun.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
I'm having so much fun right now.
I'm having a blast. Thank
I love
you.
doing these things. It's
These,
so much fun.
these are great. Always a pleasure. Yeah, we had to just take a little bit to get something set up in the
Yeah.
back here, but yeah. So we are going to be talking a bit more about the testing grounds. So GC's got more to share with that.
Yes.
So for visibility, the it's going to launch on June 29th and run to July 6th. So yeah, be lots of fun stuff. So what can we expect in this testing
So
grounds?
in this, we're testing actually two things in this testing grounds. We're doing
Okay.
testing bash timings, specifically opener bash timings.
Yep.
I'll go into a little bit more detail afterwards. And also, I think you mentioned Lawbringer.
I did, yeah.
Right. So Lawbringer part 2.
Oh, there he is. Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw
there
the,
he is.
saw
Right,
the
so
part
that's
two.
good. Right. So we'll talk about Lawbringer part 2 as well in a little bit.
Awesome.
But let's get started with bash timings, right? So just as an overview before, um, right now in the game, like opener bashes, I mean really like front dodge bashes, right? So when you do
Yeah.
front dodge into a bash, and so generally we have, in most cases at least, we do 500 ms bashes at 300 ms into the dodge, right?
Yeah.
So you can delay from 3 to 5, and you dodge front, and you can do that bash. The problem we're trying to have is that you can players can react to the dodge, which is fine. This is actually what we want to happen.
Right.
So that's why we start to put that timing a little bit later so that you see your opponent dodge towards you, and then you have to make a call as a defender to go, do I dodge? Do I try to light him out of it? What do I do exactly here? The problem is that some players, especially super high level players or players that have amazing reactions, those actually exist. I'm pretty bad. I'm getting old, so I'm pretty bad at reactions.
I don't believe you, but
Yeah, you
please
don't believe me.
continue.
Yeah, right.
No, but
If you look at that duel tournament, you'll see it happen. So some players have amazing reactions, and so because of this, they end up being able to react to not only the dodge but the actual bash.
okay.
And because it's 500, they're able to properly react. It's almost single stimuli a lot of the time. You're able to dodge out of it, and then it makes a lot of heroes' offense really lackluster, right? If you look at Centurion, for example, where you do front dodge into kick, there's no real other options, and so a lot of players are able to just go, well, I see Centurion front dodge, I'm gonna do nothing, and as soon as they see orange, as soon as they see an animation start, as soon as there's the tiniest bit of movement, they're able to dodge.
Yeah.
And so this is a problem because it creates situations where these heroes just cannot open up one bit.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here, with our bash timing changes, is that we're going to be adjusting a lot of different heroes to have slightly faster front dodge bashes. And the way we're taking this is that we decided on 3 different buckets, right? So we have a bucket where it's heroes that have a front dodge bash and a non-feintable front dodge attack. So either a light only or a heavy that you can't feint. So we have this kind of bucket. We have a bucket where it's you have a front dodge bash and you also have a feintable front dodge attack. So that gives an extra layer of mix-up in some cases. Already we kind of know that at some levels, because you can't really react to the animation because they're very similar, some heroes are able to, or are okay at 500 because there's that heavy that you can feint or whatever. And then we have a third bucket, which is front dodge bash with nothing else, right? Yeah. So Centurion, as I mentioned before, Centurion has front dodge heavy, but it's kind of it's so different from the Legion kick that it's kind of easier to react to there. So to see, so we've taken these 3 buckets and then we've assigned different speeds to different heroes in there, so we can test them out. So if you look at the list right now, we have bashes with attacks that are not feintable. So we put the changes on these heroes. This does not mean that the list is complete. This does not mean that we would not apply to other heroes when our tests or when we end up with the results from this testing grounds. It just means we've applied to these heroes for now. So in this case, we took, for example, here Griffon and Shigoki. Their front dodge bash is now 466 instead of 500. Right? Yeah. So what we're doing also is that we're trying to go from 466 to 400 to figure out what timing is okay. I've had people tell me, I have some discussion with pro players at some point, that go, 466 is probably okay for everything. Some of them say 433 is probably better. Some others say no, they need to be 400. So with this, we can actually fully test it out.
We answer all the we cover all the variables.
We cover all the variables, right? So
Nice.
Griffon and Shigoki are going to be 466. Sent and Kyoshin are going to be 433, and JJ and Glad are going to be 400. Nice. So with these, we're really able to tell. We'll be able to look at the results, look at what we have as feedback from players, from all sorts of different sources to go, what speed do these need to be actually viable, right? And at all levels. Typically, for these, when you're viable at super top level, is viable for everybody.
Right.
So that's great. And then we also have to make sure that it doesn't really cause problems, because at the 400 range, what we're a little bit more worried about is that it kind of creates frame advantage off of heavy finishers that push heavy reactions that might make it a little bit harder to get into. It might be great, it might not. We want to make sure that our players try it out and really see, right? So this is more of an experimental TG than just having, hey, we're testing out changes to this hero and, go ahead and have fun. This is more like we really need the community's help to help us test these, because this is super useful, and there's way more players that are playing this game than we are on the team. So yeah, and then at this point, I can't react at a 500 anyway. Yeah. Not a lot of people on our team. I think maybe one is able to. So it's super tricky. So we really want everybody's help with this. Yeah. So we're really hoping. So this is it for that with bashes that have non-feintable attacks attached to them. So for bashes with a feintable attack, we took Zanhu, Shinobi, and Yorm. So Zanhu is at 466, Shinobi is at 433, and Yorm is at 400. Again, 3 different numbers. See where we're going for this. Finally, bashes without any attacks. So Conk is a little bit different here, because Conk had a branching from 1 to 500. So we're testing out 466 for the speed of the bash itself, but having that bash at 300 in the front dodge instead of 100, to kind of like standardize that part a little bit so that it's easier for everybody. That's kind of like good standardization in this case. I know people don't really like when we talk about this, but at the end of the day, this is a good way to standardize it, because if the bash itself is not reactable, but you can react to the dodge, it creates a viable mix-up every time you front dodge. Because your opponent goes, I don't know if they're going to bash. Because you don't know if you're going to bash. They don't know when you're going to bash. They don't know what's going to be happening. Side dodging with attacks is risky. Some characters are able to like front dodge, feint into parries. They're always like parries now. So it makes like it makes a big difference, right? So we want to make this type of offense better. A little bit riskier on the defender side. You have to take more reads when you're defending against these. Right. And it also helps these heroes to really, really get into their offense. Yep. But for that to work properly, it needs to be at 300, right? Because at 300, that's the threshold where pretty much everyone is able to go, oh, my opponent dodged.
Yeah.
And then you can, okay, they dodge. I can pre-dodge the bash before it starts, and you're able to fully dodge the bash, and you're okay. But the thing is, for these 2 heroes, right, we have 466 on Conk and 433 on Lawbringer. Lawbringer is in testing grounds further, so that's also an improvement for Lawbringer we're going to have there. But we didn't have one at 400 because we know that at 400, this guaranteed is going to work.
Yeah.
But we want to see what the threshold is, right? So again, we're going to count on our players to really, really go through this and help us determine what the exact threshold is. And again, is it 466? Is it 433? It can be different per hero as well, right? So if you feel that Conk is okay at 466, but maybe Lawbringer needs to be at 4, don't hesitate to give that feedback. It is not an issue whatsoever. If you feel that, like, maybe at 4 it's okay, at 433 probably would be okay, give that feedback as well. We're super psyched to hear everything we can hear from this.
Yeah.
But it's very, very crucial that we get a lot of people's eyes on this and playing it and trying it out and seeing how it feels.
Sure.
So that's great there.
So there you go. That's a big change. It's rather it's rather encompassing. Again, there's a lot of heroes there. If you saw that, you can go back and check out the VOD after this to get a complete breakdown. I'm sure some of you out there are already taking notes, which is fine. But
what I like too is that I've read quite often on Reddit people saying, they would never do this.
We would never do this?
Yeah. And
then, who said that? We must find this Reddit.
And then it happens. I don't know what's going on.
Oh my gosh. We got you.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm like just trolling Reddit and going on it and just going, I can't do this now, can you? And then,
yeah, but we'll need your feedback for sure.
For sure.
So try them out and let us know.
Yeah. And then we have Lawbringer round 2. So what we're going to be doing for Lawbringer, I'm gonna try to explain really quickly because it would take forever to go through everything from the first testing grounds and this one. So what I would recommend is go look at what we had for the VOD for the first one, patch notes for that one as well, like in the blog post and everything, to see what the changes were. Because what we're going to be talking about today is the changes from the first to this testing ground. So if something was in the first one and we don't mention it today, it means it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
All right. So that's like the first thing to start with. So now let's get going. So, Lawbringer, right? So, the first thing, very first thing I got to do, I got to say it because otherwise a certain Vanessa is going to have my head. We changed the animation for the shove in chains, right? So,
Yeah.
we know this was, I think, the most vocal thing we've had.
It was.
I remember reading back
my
the
gosh,
chat
yeah.
from the VOD and everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we know
we-
sometimes animations are not final when we put them in testing grounds. We felt we were like, okay, we're gonna fix it regardless.
yeah.
But it was a huge part of the feedback.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, it was placeholder. We mentioned we were going to keep working on it,
Yeah,
but
but that's it. So
yeah.
now what it looks like is this. So,
nice.
so we don't have that kind of like jittery stuff. We still have like slightly different visuals for it, a bit more angled. Again, it's still faintable like we had before. So it works well, but the animation should be at least more readable there. That should help quite a bit.
Cool.
So next up, we're going to go on the rest of the changes because they're kind of important. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is Impale. So the changes, so Impale, right? We had a change before where you could, yeah.
Sorry.
Let's do it. So Impale, if you let go before, you couldn't wall splat. We had made that change so that, like, I didn't even get it there, but it doesn't really matter. We changed. We had a couple of changes to Impale where that's it. You couldn't really wall splat if you let go early. You went into that little window once you hit the wall
Yeah.
to get into that follow up and everything. So all those things are gone, right? So players didn't really like it. It didn't really change anything. At the end of the day, it didn't make that much of a difference, and it had other impacts on other parts of the hero's kit we're going to be talking about. But one of the things that we've also changed that is a big difference here is Impale now is only guaranteed after a light parry.
Ah.
It is no longer guaranteed after a heavy parry. So if you throw me a top heavy, for example, I need to parry it because I'm really bad at this. It looks like, yeah. See, so I can do Impale. So now I hit you, but if we do it again, you can block it.
Oh, if I block the right
You
side.
block the right side, right? There you go. So it's blockable, it's parryable, everything off of a heavy parry, right? So no longer off of any random heavy parry, basically, can you ledge somebody with Impale? Can you deal like really high amounts of damage with Impale? So that's really gone there. Makes a big difference for how the hero is. The actual change is that Impale after a parry is 1100 MS instead of 8. We've had to do like some work under the hood to make sure they was still coming out properly. You can still do it, but it can get blocked or parried after a heavy, but not after a light. So we're good to go there. So that works quite well. So that's kind of interesting here. We've also removed the stun on the top heavy after a parry. So if you do me a, sorry, do a side dodge heavy.
Side dodge heavy.
Right, so this here used the stun. We removed the stun here. A lot of players really weren't super happy with that stun still. It was the last place we kept stun. We wanted to keep it just to give it a shot. And even then, the feedback was kind of unanimous. We don't like the stun here. Perfect. Remove it. That's great. That's the kind of feedback that I like to hear, right?
Easy. Yeah.
I'd rather it be in and players don't like it and say, I don't like this, please change it, than the opposite where we don't do anything or don't change it and then people say, we have no feedback on it, and then it's kind of hard to act on it, right?
Right.
We've also lowered, you can see the damage here probably on the screen. We've lowered the damage from that top heavy finisher. It used to do 32 damage. It now deals a much more respectable rate. Okay, well, we'll just go through the text then. That's fine. So it used to deal 32 damage. Now it deals 25.
That's all we wanted.
So
to go.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine,
that's fine. Right, so then it deals 25. A lot easier to deal with. Doesn't deal as much damage. On a light parry, you don't get massive damage. You still get that guaranteed light afterwards. So you're good to go. I don't know if we can still get in, but
We
we'll see.
wanna.
So that's for the top heavy finisher when you parry, and then the dedicated light parry punish. So whenever you parry, if you press light, you get that quick hit.
Yeah.
It used to deal 16. We lowered it down to 12 to be like more in a normal, to be like a much more normal like damage range, right? I don't think we'll be able to because we have to regroup and everything.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Okay. I'll just-
So it's fine.
It's
Yeah, so we lowered the damage there to make it a lot more in line with what our other parry punishes are on lights. It still counts as the second hit in your chain, so you go to finishers, you get all that good stuff. But it's an idea of the damage was too high, so we really need to lower the damage on Lawbringer. That was another one of the big complaints that we had with the hero, which I totally get.
Yeah.
Damage was still a bit too high,
Sorry.
so we really trying to lower it.
Yep.
Next up, we removed the armor, the uninterruptible stance, as the official name is,
Mhm.
on the heavy finishers for all three sides. I've read a lot of comments about maybe we should keep it on top, maybe we should keep it everywhere, maybe we should just remove it altogether. So we've decided to remove it altogether on all three sides, especially because top has that follow up that you can go to that guaranteed light and keep looping there, which is still super interesting for us. But no longer having that armor because those heavies have such big, wide, unblockable trajectories.
Yeah.
You don't really need that armor that much. Should make Lawbringer a little bit easier to be peeled, although to be fair, it's still hard because it's still, big trajectories hitting you.
Right.
But that makes a big difference there. And we've also lowered the damage of that attack. It used to deal 30, like the sides used to deal 30, top used to deal 32. Now the sides, well, all three sides actually deal 28. So because they deal a little bit less damage, again, we're under our 30 threshold. They're super, super, super good heavies.
Yeah.
I kept hearing from the community these are like the best heavy finishers that we have off of any character.
Nice.
They're pretty fast. They have the top one has soft feint to guard break to do a lot of good stuff. They have big trajectories and everything. So this is great. They land too often, lower the damage a little bit, works well. Also because of the impale changes, the second heavy in chains used to deal 20 damage, right? Because the idea was you're gonna impale somebody, hit them to the wall, get into your other attacks and deal 20. But because impale is no longer guaranteed off of heavy parries, you don't get like close to 26 damage off of a heavy parry, which was like insanely high, and a potential to ledge and everything. So yeah. So because of that, we were able to revert the damage back and push it back to 26 so that you actually want to use those heavies and you're good to go.
Gotcha.
Finally, we've done some changes to long arm. So one of the other complaints, not complaints, but like feedbacks that we got, right? Complaints is a strong word, is that you could actually perform long arm on opponents after you've guard broken them, right? It was a bit of a hidden tech. Not everybody knew about it. But essentially, you could do like guard break and then hold back heavy and guard break and do a long arm every single time.
Ah, yes.
So normally, that wasn't an issue because on live right now, like without the testing ground changes, the problem was that you can't guard break if you go into a long arm, but the follow-ups on live on long arm are not really they're not that good. You really risk a lot because you can you throw your heavy. If you don't go into a second attack, you get guard broken for free every single time. So with the changes that we've done to long arm, lets us do a lot more damage. And so having that high damage off of a guard break was way too high. So we've removed that ability entirely. You can no longer long arm off of a guard break by yourself. That was super. A lot of pro players came to me and told me yeah, this is a bit too much. So we've decided to remove it. And we've also removed the fact that long arm paused and drained stamina.
Okay.
That's gone as well. So that it's still a good ganking tool. You can still do a lot of good stuff with it, but we wanted to tone it down a little bit. And the last thing that we've done, just to close this out, is the back throw distance. So if you're not super aware, Lawbringer, when he guard breaks you and throws you backwards, he used to throw you backwards super, super, super far. And you could ledge you from really far away, get you wall splats. Yeah, we're a little bit too late now. Yeah, so you could throw it super far away, get a lot of stuff. So we've reduced the back throw distance by half. You used to push them 2.5 meters, and now it's gonna push them a meter and a quarter. So you don't go as comically far as you used to. So it makes a big difference here. So that's it for those changes. So essentially, for Lawbringer, we know that the first one was not super well received. There was a lot. We got a lot of good feedback, not feedback that was positive, but a lot of really, really good feedback.
Right.
And so we've taken it in stride to take a lot of that feedback and really go ahead and try to adjust a lot of it, so that we can make a hero that's a lot better balanced. Damage has been lowered almost across the board. Impale is only off of parries anymore, or still after sprint, but really having those changes to make the hero a little bit less. Not oppressive, but a bit less difficult to fight against.
Right.
It still felt really bad to fight against a bunch of Lawbringers that could just impale you off of everything, get a lot of damage off all the time. So we're really hoping that with these changes, we're still pushing Lawbringer in the direction where we wanted him to go, which was have the hero that he's still a parry specialist, right? So still really good at parrying, still has a lot of dedicated parry punishes, but at the end of the day, still be able to be a lot more offensive because having super defensive heroes in For Honor, where your entire game plan revolves around I'm gonna sit here and wait, is not. Like, it can be. I understand it can be fun for some players to play, right?
Yeah.
Totally, but it is not the direction that we really want to push the game towards. We've been doing a lot of strides, a lot of pushes towards having more unreactable offense, better offense, more offensive based gameplay, and not really go back to the turtle meta that we had at some point where
Yeah.
all you could do really was just like stare in front of somebody's face, right?
Just wait.
And
Yeah.
so that's not super interactive. It's not a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And then fighting somebody that's a reaction monster that's able to do everything against you all the time did not feel good either. So with these changes, we're really, really pushing the hero towards a bit
Nice.
more like, yeah, you're still a parry specialist. Yeah, you still get a lot of options off a parry, but at the same time, you can actually attack people now, which
Yeah.
is what's super important here.
Well, wow. So that's very in depth. Thank you so much, JC, for sharing that. And again, for everybody out there, just we want to just stress and reiterate this that the testing grounds is really a tool for us. It's a tool for us to gather your feedback, to try experiments with heroes, with reworks, with system changes. So it's really a great way to interact with all of you, and we appreciate the feedback that you do share and you do send our way. But just as a reminder, again, the stuff in there is generally still work in progress and doesn't always mean that it's going to make it into the final game. That just what you're seeing there. So just we're not wrapping up yet. Nope. As Max is telling me, wrap up the
Yeah,
stuff.
wrap
I see
it
how
up.
It is.
No,
It's
yeah,
fine.
There's gonna be music start to play.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
It's like, being one of those comical hooks, like Shepherd's crooks about to pull me off screen. But anyway, just to close that out, just thank you. Yeah, keep up the feedback.
Yeah.
It's great to see. We really appreciate that. And we know we lost a bit of the feed on that, but there will be a patch notes section that will be released later on. That's going to kind of show all.
Yeah,
of
we're
this.
gonna have all the changes there.
So you'll be able to read them and try them out for yourself very soon.
Yeah. And one thing I would like to add really
please.
quickly in terms of feedback that players give, right? So
Yeah.
whether your feedback is positive or negative or neutral or whatever,
Yeah.
it's totally fine. I'm okay with us getting a lot of bad feedback. It's okay because it's part of the process. It's part of what we're going towards. However, if you want to give feedback and you want your feedback to be taken into consideration a little bit more and us to really look at it more in depth, it's better to have feedback that has your reasoning behind.
Right.
So just you can and like totally if you just want to go and say I hate XYZ, fine. But if you go onto wherever you give feedback and you say I don't like this and this and this for these reasons, and you go into in depth into not necessarily get super in depth, but go I don't like this change for this reason and that reason and that reason. It really lets us get a better insight into how you're thinking and how you're playing, and go okay. So generally, as a whole, this was disliked for this, that reason, because then it helps us pinpoint the exact cause of what's causing this negative feedback and lets us address it in a much better manner. So that's like a super important point that I want to stress on everybody. It's great to get feedback. I love to get all that feedback. Even when people hate on us, it's fine. I don't care.
We take it in stride.
Yeah, we take it in stride totally. But the more constructive, the more in depth, and the more you explain your opinions, the better it is for us, because it really lets us go through everything and really parse it and really fully understand the logic behind everything. So that's like super important. Again, if you don't feel like it, fine. Just tell us that you don't like it or that you love it. It's great. But yeah, the more info we have, and even if it's something that you like, the other thing that's important, even if you really, really love something, if you give us more details as to why you love it, that's even better.
Yeah.
Right? So it's all that sort of stuff that it's super helpful to us. And I know like people love to kind of take part in the dev process and be able to be heard. And this is how you are best heard.
Yeah.
So that's like the most important thing for that side.
Awesome. Well, wonderfully said. Thank you so much, JC. Thank you for sharing all the details on the patch notes testing grounds. I'm looking forward to it coming up very soon in this upcoming season. Starts next week. So thanks again.